My name is Tanko Almakura. I represent Nasarawa South. Mr. President, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this all-important debate on the issue of security of our country. Mr. President, as a matter of fact, the most disturbing challenge in our national life today is the issue of security. The situation on ground tells it all, and the views expressed by my distinguished colleagues is also an emphasis to that situation. Mr. President, it is even more scary when you look at the evolution and tempo of security challenges over the years. In the past 10 years, the security challenges facing this country were things that we thought we could handle within the twinkle of an eye, because those problems were merely armed robbery, cybercrime, 419. But as the years rolled by, these security challenges became compounded, became more intensive. Armed robbery, cattle rustling, kidnapping, banditry, and insurgency. You can see the tempo of crime and security challenges increasing by the day. And I think it's high time our security operatives take a more pragmatic approach towards solving this problem. The issue of one problem, one solution solves everything should be a thing of the past. It's high time we got every issue to be taken on its own merits and with its own peculiarity. Secondly, Mr. President, inter-service collaboration is one aspect of our security challenge that we need to see greater improvement. I believe when the inter-service cooperation or collaboration is promoted, the issue of security challenges will be reduced to the barest minimum. We are living witnesses in the past years, to be precise, in 2013-2014, when such lack of collaboration and cooperation resulted in the killing of more than 90 security operatives who went to salvage some people in a certain village in my state. I believe if at that point in time there was proper security intelligence gathering, intelligence sharing, that calamity wouldn't have happened. Mr. President, another issue that I consider very, very important, and we should take it very seriously, is the issue of security mechanism in our security system, intelligence mechanism in our security system. It is not just enough sending soldiers, battalions to go and fight Boko Haram, fight bandits, fight kidnappers. With all the weapons they have, Mr. President, their efforts will come to naught if there are no proper intelligence that will guide and illuminate their action for success. So I believe while we are talking about security in this country, the emphasis should be properly placed on intelligence mechanism. That, I believe, will give a clear roadmap to proper security success in managing our security affairs in the country. Mr. President, with regard to community police, I think that is a move in the right direction, because by promoting the mechanism of police, community policing, those small crimes that later compound into impossible crimes will be nipped in the bud. And the first step towards that, rather than embarking on full-scale employment of community police, I think the first step to clear the ground for effective management of our security system, when we talk about community policing, is to ensure that all rank and files across the country, up to the rank of an ASP, should be deployed to their various states. If they are there, they are conversant with the terrain, they know who is who, they know where is where. I think that will be the beginning of the success of our community police. If we make it a policy that all rank and files up to the position of ASP to be deployed to their various states. They have already known the rudiments, the terrain, and I believe by the time they graduate into SP, they could be deployed to any other place. Finally, security, the way it is, and the way it has gone so terribly bad in this country, requires the participation of all of us. We should not just sleep on our beds, close our doors, and think the army, the police, the SS are angels or spirit that will go and handle any impossible task. We must also be proactive. We must also be security conscious and help, support, and give necessary information and intelligence to these security operatives. I think when there is synergy and all-inclusive participation of all of us towards seeing to the betterment of security in our country, I think we will attain the success we so much desire. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Adiola.
And what some of the things we go through, Mr. President, I believe is informed by the level of our spirituality. We're actually very dirty before God. That is why we go through these processes. We must learn to accept this. Having said this, let me say, Mr. President, in the 7th Senate, I watch you weep on this row when at the wake of the insurgency in the Northeast, because you were passionate about your people. Today you are seated as a presiding officer. When this insurgency started, Nigerians underrated it. And they thought it was a Northeast matter or a Borno affair. I remember Senator Zana the late kept singing this song that one day it will become a national matter. And I am happy that we agree that we are going to discuss this matter across political parties. And I commend Bamidele for his song yesterday. Was it yesterday or the other day? But what is happening appears to be a departure.
Deputy Leader, are you on a selfie or something? Okay. But we are not supposed to sit on the aisle. You can take a seat at the back and discuss in low tone.
My time now begins. Now, Mr. President, I am not happy at the progress made on this debate on insecurity in this country. I want to draw our attention to the provision in our Constitution in Chapter 2, fundamental objective and directive principles of state policy. You know, the problem we have is understanding what is government. Anytime we speak about failure of governance, we point to the executive. We forget that we are part of government. We forget that, for instance, the American presidential system, after which we model ours, premised democratic reform on democracy being premised on the tripod of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. So once government fails, all of us take responsibility. All of us. And the situation in Nigeria today is such that if a memorandum is going to be called, Nigerians will vote that let all of us leave the scene. The entire three arms of government, judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. Because Nigerians can see manifestly that we have failed. Nobody is safe. People kill for sport. And the other day when I said, when you see Nigerians resorting to self-help, you will understand the magnitude of this failure. Because it is a situation that everybody is now a rat race. Everybody should be covering himself now. When I read about the Amotokum concept, I did say I support this because every region should plan how to protect itself. When we are talking about police, I see police playing a very lesser role because police themselves are feeling shortchanged. They feel that the activities of managing internal security, which they think should be theirs, had been taken over. Until you interact with these agencies, you will understand very well. And I am amazed, my heart bleeds, that nobody cares that whether there is something wrong in the military, something wrong in the Navy, something wrong in the Air Force, whether there is low morale, nobody seems to be talking about it. And for want of time, I don't want to talk about the people who play to the gallery or religionists. You know, we promote all this because Nigeria is a country that are very religious, but our heart is very far from God. Our heart is not with God. We must stop pretending because it is about the sanctity of life. People speak about, okay, this is why we, in hushed tongues, they discuss these things and we all agree. When we come here, everybody appears to be playing Man Friday. This is very dangerous for a nation that wants to lead the entire continent of Africa. Anybody who stays here should be seen as a statesman. But when we come here, you other talk so that they can go and report to your boss. He spoke, you know, he spoke well about our...
Deputy Minority Leader. Yes, thank you very much. Senator Samuel.
I'm not done yet.
Then you have just maybe 1 minute to round off. Yes.
I want us as a parliament to agree that the security architecture, like you said, had failed. And so we need new heads in these agencies so that morale of men who are growing can be promoted. Because when I rise up as a military officer and I see my senior is there and I retire and I leave him hanging there, and you expect me to give up my best in war front, how does it work? It doesn't work. So, Mr. President, we must treat this issue with genuine open heart, with purity of heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Samuel.
Indicated we may be inviting the IG and his team to come and explain the issue of community policing, which the police has been propagating for the last 1 decade. I think the misunderstanding, Mr. President, is the use of the word police there. It's community monitoring, if you like. Community watch. The wrong interpretation, Mr. President, is that when we say community policing, most Nigerians are expecting a structure similar to the Nigerian police that carry arms and all the like. And that is why people are agitating for state police. Mr. President, if I may quickly say, while I had the opportunity of being the governor of Kano for 8 years, we did and implemented community policing, and it worked. We established what we call the Hisba Guards, and we used the traditional institution to establish the Hisba Guard, Mr. President. We have constituted a committee in every local government, led by the district head. The imam will be there, the pastor will be there, the DPO will be there, the elders of the community will be there, and we saddle them with the responsibility of recruiting 20 responsible citizens of every ward. We have 484 wards in Kano. And at once we ended up with 9,620 Hisba Guards. And we legislated the establishment of the Hisba Guard, Mr. President. The then president even challenged us. We fought him up to the Supreme Court and we defeated the federal government on that exercise. Hisba Guard is still there, is legislated. We saddled the responsibility of coordinating and watching the environment on the traditional institutions. Mr. President, anybody in our environment today, Kano and largely most of the northern states, who is 60 and above, knows that the days of the NA police was very effective. Mr. President, I'm proudly a product of an NA police officer. He retired as a chief inspector of NA police. And they were very effective. Even in the days of the NA police, we used to have what we call 'yan sandan sarauniya, Queen's Police, local monitoring. They are not the NA police, but they are community policing. It worked. Mr. President, within 2 years, ask anybody from Kano, we were able to eliminate all the serious vices in the community because they are watching it. In fact, it got to the point that most citizens in Kano prefer to report their cases to the police, to the Hisba Guard offices, than even going to the police stations or even going to the court. Because the setup was so good, it was not for arrest and prosecute, but for monitoring and coordinating and guiding the community. So I think, Mr. President, it should be government-driven. We should not wait for anybody to tell us what to do with the community policing. The argument of waiting to have state police does not even arise. We did this, it worked, and it is still working. Finally, Mr. President, I want to say that there are 5 issues.
Point of order, leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, because of the time, I will want to be as brief as possible. And in doing that, I have highlighted just the salient point that we use to guide my contribution on this particular issue. Number 1, the 8th Senate report on the security conference that was organized by the 8th Senate. I think we should bring back this report, revisit it, and all recommendations in that report should be looked into. And I'm happy that the Senate President was the chairman of that particular committee, and he worked closely with the leader of the Senate on this all-important report. I think it will do us a lot of good in giving suggestions to the executive on this matter. Secondly, we want to thank the service chiefs. They've done well. They've contributed their own quota. But I believe it is time for them to go. The president needs fresh ideas, fresh strategists that will guide him towards looking into the security challenges currently confronting us as a nation as soon as possible. Thirdly, we equally want to thank the Nigerian police who have done well in securing our nation for the last 50-something years. They have equally done well. They've contributed their own quota towards the nation building in trying to ensure that every 200 million Nigerians are safe. But you will quite agree with me, the number of Nigerian police compared with the trend in the population is not enough to continue to carry out this all-important exercise. To that extent, we are calling on the federal government and the Senate as a major legislative intervention for the creation of state police by amending the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as soon as possible. I want to congratulate the Southwest governor for coming up with the idea of Amotekun. This has forced everybody to go back to the drawing board and looking at it from the angle that there is need for us to take care of our security situation in our various states. Mr. President, the creation of state police will achieve, among other things, 1, it will take care of all these little security outfits that have been set up once and for all, and they will be constitutionally backed for them to operate effectively. Secondly, Senator Danjuma Goje mentioned the issue of unemployment. Mr. President, I believe creation of state police will lead to generation of employment. Thousands of Nigerians will be employed in their numbers across the nation building. And a lot of funding has also been raised as an issue. 1% police fund that has been set up by this Senate and being released to this police. What are they using it for? Go to some DPO station, 10,000 naira is given to them from the headquarters as their running cost. This is a nice one. How do you want commitment from this kind of police? So a lot needs to be done in this regard. So in creating a state police, and as for the fears that the governors will have total control, it's not going to be true. The election, as it affects the federal election, should be handled by the federal government and the federal police. Why the state electoral commission, as we currently have it, should be handled by the state local government election. We have solved the problem. So I want us to be dispassionate about it and look at it from the point of view. Also, Mr. President, I want to say this. There is still for us to mandate the Senate Committee on Custom to find out something very, very salient about our border. Is it true that the land border in the north is not closed? Because I am taken aback. If day in, day out, thousands of people are killed in the up north. And these people killing us are not Nigerians. So how do they enter our country? So there is urgent need for the Senate Committee on Custom to go on a fact-finding mission to know what the true position about the land border closure is in the northern part. There is urgent need for that. Or else we will continue to go round. Also, Mr. President, the uncompleted building in our dear nation. There is urgent need for the Nigerian police, as it were, to go round and comb all the uncompleted building in this country. These people that have invaded our nation, where are they sleeping? At the end of the day, there is urgent need for us to do all of this, so as to stem the tide of insecurity that has taken over the situation, the security situation in our dear nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Deputy Leader.
Mr. Senate President, I was simply referring to the beginning of our discussion. But my concern is that today we are talking about our nation's security, when at this time and of our generation we should be talking about technological development and things other developed countries of the world are doing. It's unfortunate. But when I heard my brother from Adamawa spoke, my heart bled. And when I see what I see in videos about what happened in Niger State, I get more worried seeing Nigerians looking helpless, being murdered and butchered like chicken, and with the belief that they cannot be helped. That's a very serious situation we have found ourselves in our country. But truth be told, Mr. President, our country is going through an extreme danger of insecurity. And God forbid, we must never be judged as a generation that has failed, or as leaders that have failed to guarantee security and welfare of their people. Where we are concerned about the current security situation, I'm more concerned about Nigeria in 10 years' time. When these 10.3 million out-of-school children, in 10 years' time, there will be 20 years, we will graduate to another improved form of Boko Haram. That will be more serious time we're looking at. So we must act quickly now under the present situation which this ugly condition points out to us, by first and foremost accepting responsibility as leaders, as a people, as a nation, and not to blame anyone else, but to take responsibility. As it stands right now, if in 10 years' time nothing is done about these out-of-school children, we are going to have 10 million militants with maybe 500,000 police force. That again is another problem we have to look at now. Mr. President, there is a correlationship between poverty and insecurity. And there's no other causative other than poverty arising from unemployment, joblessness of our youths. So these two are like husband and wife. You cannot treat the other this without the other. My appeal, therefore, in providing solution, there are two types of solution that I would like to provide: the immediate solution and the long-term solution. Distinguished senators have spoken here loudly on the need to change the entire or re-engineer the entire security apparatus in Nigeria. That's given. I think Mr. President should take a bold step and fire the fireable and save the savable, that Nigeria might begin to rebuild confidence in the entire security network. Again, command and control must be established. Today, we do not know who is actually responsible for the command and control. The Office of National Security Advisor in any civilized country should take up their responsibility to manage the security affairs of a nation. That seems to be lacking about command and control. And today, we do not know when any arm of government or any security agency have failed. But rather, the police will blame the army blame the navy blame the air force blame the police will blame the vigilante, and all that. So we must hold somebody responsible in this country if we have to get it right. I'm talking about state policing. If you like, call it any name. For as long as the attitude of people does not change, it will amount to the same. I think people misunderstand what we mean by state policing. State policing means, or community policing, simply means strengthening police at the community level. Because these police, whether they are state or community, they are still police. Police does not mean anyone who is called Nigerian police. Police is police once we're able to police. So we shouldn't put more emphasis about state police or community police. What we're saying, strengthening the police at community level and at the state level. Mr. President, why we say so? I overheard here we discussed about blaming, but let me say, in curing the headache, you don't have to cut the head. Because if someone is sick, he has headache, I think the best way to stop the headache is by cutting his head. You have not cured the headache. You have cured and killed. So let's change doctors where possible and change prescriptions.